ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. So welcome to our Saturday morning session. First of all, I am very sorry for cancellation of the last session due to my travel to Delhi. But now in future, I'll be more careful and we will keep our schedule, undisturbed. Now, we are on our journey of Ishavasya Upanishad. We have covered verse 7 or mantra 7 of Ishavasya Upanishad. Just to recapture in a few words, the first part of Ishavasya Upanishad tells us that Paramatma or the Supreme is everywhere, Ishavasya Midam Sarvam, and we should enjoy the life, but without getting attached, without getting greedy, and then we should try to live for 100 years and do whatever duty we are supposed to do without the feeling of doer and without any expectation. So if we do that, that would be great. And then it defines what is the Supreme, what is Brahma. So it gave three specific verses to define the Supreme. Though Supreme is not definable, but still every Upanishad tries to define the undefinable, and that is what we need to do. And that is why we had to use the language of paradox, that he is nearest, but he is also farthest. He is without any property or gun, but he provides all the gun to all the properties which we see in the world. So all those paradoxes which we see in the definition of the Supreme are there. And now in verse number 7, they said that those people who are able to understand the Supreme like that, and they understand that whole universe is pervaded by him, he alone is there everywhere. And once we have that feeling of what we call oneness, then there would be no disappointment, and there would be no attachment. And that is the situation of equanimity, and that is where we reach. So this is how the Upanishad told us so far. Now, this is the next portion, the next one verse number 8. It defines the Upanishad, or it defines the Atma. So far it was talking about Paramatma. Now it talks about Atma, that what is Atma. And it defines Atma in a similar way. And I will read out this in Hindi. वह आत्मा सर्वगत, शुद्ध, अशरीरी, अक्षत, निर्मल, सर्वद्रष्टा, सर्वज्ञ, सर्वोत्कृष्ट और स्वयंभू है. Now these are very profound words, profound adjectives which have been used for Atma. And they are in a way similar to what has been used for Paramatma. So this is a confirmation that Atma is almost Paramatma, though in a smaller form. So it says Sarvgat. Sarvgat means it goes everywhere. Its gati, its movement is everywhere. So whenever we think of anything, the Atma goes first, the consciousness reaches there first, and then we reach. If we want to talk about moon or the sun, the consciousness must reach there first, and then only we can think about it. So it is like the consciousness reaching everywhere. Wherever we reach, the consciousness reaches there first. Then Shuddh, it is absolutely pure. There is no impurity at all in the Atma. The impurities are all in the body. Body-mind complex has impurities, not the Atma. Atma is absolutely pure. It has no impurities of whatever nature. Asariri. Asariri means it doesn't have a body. The consciousness does not have any body. It is not in any form. There can be no form. Asariri means there's no sarir, there's no body, no form of any nature which we can feel. So that is the nature of Atma. Akshat. Akshat means which is not depreciating at all. There's no share. There's no change in that. It is absolutely constant. It is beyond any change, beyond any depreciation. Then Sarvdrashta, that it can see everything. Whatever you want to see, you can see because of this consciousness. Discussing the characteristics of Atma. Now, this one single verse, mantra number 8. So we talked about Sarvdrashta, Sarvagya, that there's a potential that we can become Sarvagya. Now, Sarvagya we can become only when we become one with Paramatma. So that is the difference. That is the difference. Sarvotkrast, that we can also attain the highest, what you call, the purity, the highest knowledge, highest, excellence, the excellence of the excellence. If that is all possible when we become one with the Supreme. And Swayambhu, that this Atma is Swayambhu. It is not created by anybody. It is born on its own and it lives forever. And it is without any body. It is absolutely pure. It doesn't depreciate. It doesn't change. It can acquire the total knowledge, the what we call Purnamada Purnamidam, that it can have all that qualities. So this is what the characteristics of Atma. So basically, this verse tells us that whatever is Paramatma, as part of that, we also have similar characteristics. The difference is that some of those characteristics we can attain only when we become one with the Supreme. Otherwise, those characteristics are there inherently there in Atma. So Atma is absolutely like Paramatma, except the difference that it becomes one with the Supreme, then only we can acquire certain characteristics which are there. So this is what this mantra tells us. So this is very profound mantra once again, telling us very clearly that each one of us which has consciousness, all the living being which has Atma, they have the potential to become like the Supreme. They can become as the Paramatma is. But for the requirement for that is that we should become one with him through what he said earlier, realizing the oneness, the total oneness of the Supreme, that the Supreme is pervading the entire universe, and we start seeing him everywhere. Then we are able to attain that yog, that is what we call one with the Supreme. Yog means yukt, to become one with the Supreme, that is yog. And that is possible only when we start seeing the Supreme everywhere, and we are seeing everybody in our own self. That is the condition. And once that condition is fulfilled, we become like the Supreme with all those characteristics which are defined in this verse number 8. Now, verse number 9, 10, and 11. These are very debated verses, the most debated of this Upanishad. So we will take them together. There are variety of views which have been expressed on these three verses, three mantras. And I have been meditating on them, and I have come out with my own thoughts and conclusions. So I will share with you on that. Now, verse or mantra number 9. Anditama pravishanti ye vidyamupaste tato bhuya ivote तमो ये उ विद्याय अरता, जो विद्या की उपासना करते हैं वे घोर अंधकार में प्रवेश करते हैं, और जो विद्या में ही रत हैं वे मानो उससे भी ज्यादा अंधकार में प्रवेश करते हैं. Now, those who are lacking the knowledge, avidya, that you don't have the knowledge, you are in darkness, they go to the darkness. That is understood. But those who are absolutely delighted in knowledge, in Vidya, they enter even deeper darkness. Now, why it is so? Now, this is a very, uh, you know, this verse has been the subject of most debate amongst all Upanishads, and therefore we have to understand it very correctly. First of all, Sanskrit is a language of pure science, total science. It's based on profound science. Every single word in Sanskrit has its a different meaning. Even if we use, say, 1,000 names of the god, every name has a different meaning. We say Paramatma, it has a different meaning. We say Brahm, Brahm means which expands everywhere. Paramatma means the highest form of Atma, which is, the abode at the last level. Beyond that, you cannot go. Then, if you say Murlidhar, it means he has a Murli on his, lips. If you call him Giridhar, it means he has a mountain. So every single name of God, though there are 1,000 names, it has a different meaning. Similarly, for example, sun has many names, but each name is not identical. It may be similar but not identical, because there are different connotations of those names. So this is how the Sanskrit language is. Every single root or the word has a different meaning. So here there are two words, Vidya and Ge. Vidya means knowledge. Ge means the knowledge which is internalized. So Vidya and Gyan are not actually identical. Vidya has a different connotation and Gyan has a different connotation. नाउ अविद्या की उपासना करते हैं वो घोर अंधकार में प्रवेश करते हैं. Avidya means basically the person who doesn't have knowledge. Like, I meet some people coming from village. Sometimes they do not understand what is a computer, what is a phone and all that. So that is like avidya. They have no idea about this, what it is. And they cannot understand that equipment unless they get knowledge about it. So avidya is similar to agyan. There is not much of difference between the two. So those people who are agyani, who don't have knowledge about the Supreme, here the knowledge and Vidya we are talking in reference to Supreme. So those people who do not have knowledge of the Supreme or existence of the Supreme, now those people actually remain in darkness, which is acceptable, which is true. There is nothing debatable about it. बट दोज हु आर विद्या में जो रत रहते हैं वो उससे भी अधिक अंधकार में प्रवेश करते हैं. नाउ व्हाट डज इट मीन? नाउ विद्या एंड ज्ञान, एज वी डिस्कस्ड, गे एंड विद, these are two different roots. Vid is knowledge, ge is internalized knowledge. For example, if I know that it is wrong to tell a lie, this is knowledge, this is vidya. If I internalize it and I don't tell a lie, that means gyan. I have internalized it. But I keep telling that one should not tell lies, but I keep telling lies, then it is not gyan. It is not internalized. Then some people say, oh, chori karna bahut galat kaam hai. We should not do the theft. It should not happen. But we keep doing it. So we know it. Vidya is, that is, the knowledge is there. but Gyan is not there if we are not internalizing that knowledge. So that difference we have to understand here. Now here this says Vidya mein jo rat rehte hain. Vidya means knowledge. It's not internalized knowledge. It's simply knowledge. Gyan mein jo rat rehte hain, wo theek hai. That is fine. It means they have internalized that knowledge. And therefore Gyan has become part of his personality, his behavior, in his day-to-day conduct. So there is no contradiction there. But contradiction arises when you only have Vidya, you only have knowledge. Like on WhatsApp, we keep getting these days tremendous amount of knowledge. But the same people who deliver that knowledge, their own behavior is entirely different. They don't follow those sermons which they deliver on WhatsApp. So that is the difference. That is what the reference here is, in my opinion. That those people who acquire knowledge, but who are not able to internalize that knowledge, and they remain firmly, of the view that he knows everything, then they become more arrogant. They become, immune to the suggestions from outside, and therefore they go in a deeper darkness. Now, this is what we have to understand by this, this mantra. And this is very important. This happens to each one of us. We believe in so many good things. We know so many good things. We preach others, but we do not internalize that knowledge. We keep telling others, don't be angry, but we become angry. Now the Vidya is there, but internalized knowledge, Gyan is not there. So that difference between Vid and Gay is the one which is internalized. Vid is the one which is only knowledge. So that is what the Upanishad is referring to here. And that is why this debate arises, and people feel that those who are delighted in knowledge, why should they go in deeper darkness? They will go in deeper darkness because they will become immune to the suggestions by other people. In fact, they feel that they are fully knowledgeable, but their own conduct is not according to that knowledge. They may be telling others not to tell lies, but they are constantly telling lies. They may be, telling that don't hurt others, but they are hurting others. So all those things are contradiction. So in that sense, a person who doesn't have that knowledge is better than the person who has the knowledge and the arrogance and has become immune to suggestions. So this is what this mantra means. And this mantra is absolutely relevant for each one of us, particularly those intellectuals who delight in that intellectual knowledge, but their own conduct is absolutely, despicable in so many ways. And I know many intellectual people, they become more arrogant. They feel that they know everything and they do not listen to others' suggestions. And that is what this mantra is referring to. So I think this is what I thought I have made it clear. We should start with the differentiation between Vid and Gay. Vid is knowledge, that is Vidwan. And, people may become Vidwan, but they are not necessarily Jnani. To that knowledge, and that is what leads to arrogance and immunity to other suggestions. And that is why this mantra tells us, it's a very practical suggestion that which is also told that what you preach you should practice. So we should practice actually what we preach, and that is what this mantra tells us. And if we do not practice that, it means you are in greater darkness than the person who doesn't know that at all. So this is what this mantra is. Now, mantra number 10. विद्या से एक ही फल बताया गया है और अविद्या का दूसरा फल बताया गया है, ऐसा हमें बुद्धिमान पुरुषों से सुना है जिन्होंने हमारे लिए इसकी व्याख्या की है. नाउ दिस मंत्र 10 इज बेसिकली elaboration of mantra 9 and mantra 11, which will follow now. It simply says that the outcome of vidya, the outcome of knowledge is one, and outcome of person who doesn't have that knowledge is different. And this is what the wise people have told us, and this is what we will try to explain. So this mantra is basically a kind of connecting mantra between mantra number 9 and mantra number 11. Now we take mantra 11. जो विद्या और अविद्या इन दोनों को ही एक साथ जानता है, वह अविद्या से मृत्यु को पार करके विद्या से अमृत को प्राप्त कर लेता है. Now this is the combination here. विद्याम च विद्याम च यस्त द्वद्भय सह अविद्याया मृत्यु तीर्थवा vidya amrato sruta, that you attain amrit through following the two. Now firstly, जो विद्या और अविद्या दोनों को साथ जानता है. Now avidya, if you understand that I don't have the knowledge, so you try to acquire the knowledge, and then you acquire that knowledge and practice it yourself. That is the way to cross this world, to cross the what we call the cycle of life and death, the cycle which keep revolving, that we are coming back and back into this world, doing the same activities which we keep repeating all the time. Like I've been observing now, the things which children do today are exactly the same which we did when we were children. And when we are reborn, we will repeat the same activities. So there's nothing but repetition. Life after life, we keep repeating the same thing. We remain child, we go to the school, we try to learn something, and we learn to live with the society, and then we get married, we do a job, and we earn money, then we have children, and then the children have to go to school, and then we look after them, and then their marriage, children's weddings happen, and they have children, and then we become old and we keep preaching them. This is the process which keep repeating in everybody's life. My grandfather did the same, and my father did the same, and I'm doing the same. And if I'm reborn, I'll be doing the same again. So this is the process. This process keep repeating life after life. So why are we doing that? This is the question which Upanishad asks. Why do we do this repetition life after life? And that is why this Upanishad is telling that from avidya, we should understand the world, the darkness of this world. And then we acquire vidya, and then internalize that vidya. So it is a three-stage process. First, you remain in darkness without knowledge. Then we realize that knowledge is essential. Without knowledge, you can't move forward. So you acquire knowledge. And then you internalize that knowledge and change your behavior. So these three stages are extremely important in everybody's life. And once we reach these three stages, then we can transcend the cycle of life and death, and we can reach what we call amratu. Amratu means that you become one with the Supreme. Now, similar verses are there in Bhagavad Gita, and I have identified them, and it is better to understand them in this context. Now, the chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita ends with knowledge that Atma Amar hai, Ajar hai, it cannot be killed with weapons, it doesn't get wet with water, all those things. So Krishna gives that knowledge to Arjun. And then in chapter 3, the first question of Arjun is कि हे जनार्दन, यदि आपको कर्म की अपेक्षा ज्ञान श्रेष्ठ मान्य है तो मेरे को इस भयंकर कर्म में क्यों लगाते हो? Now this is what he's asking, that if you think knowledge is better than the action, then why are you pushing me to this war, which is so dangerous, so unpredictable consequences? So this is Arjuna who has the same dilemma, that what is more important. And then Krishna very clearly tells him in response to it that you cannot get rid of actions. The whole life from your birth till death is full of actions. Actions have to be done. Not even a second person can remain without action. So action have to be done. But those actions should be done with knowledge that what is right for you to do, what is your duty to do, what you should do and what you should not do. So this is what the Upanishad is also telling, that you have to acquire knowledge, what is right, what is wrong, that is the Vidya. Then you internalize that Vidya and practice it. And then it talked about that you have to do karma and live for 100 years. So you should keep doing what is desirable to do, what is your duty to do. And that is very, very important part. So this is where this question was asked. And there's another thing which I found, which is very similar in Bhagavad Gita to what we discussed just now. That is, we were talking about what we call unity or ekatva or oneness. That is what we were talking about. Now, this oneness was also discussed by Lord Krishna in chapter 6. So he says that जो पुरुष संपूर्ण भूतों में सबके आत्म रूप मुझ परमात्मा को देखता है और संपूर्ण भूतों को मुझ परमात्मा के अंतर्गत देखता है, that is the unity, the oneness, that he looks in everybody the divinity, and in the divinity he looks everybody. So this one unity, then वो मेरे लिए अदृश्य नहीं होता और मैं उसके लिए अदृश्य नहीं होता. Then he is able to realize the supreme. That is what it means here. This is the verse 30 in chapter 6, and also 31st gives the similar thing. जो पुरुष एक ही भाव में स्थित होकर संपूर्ण भूतों को आत्म रूप से स्थित मुझ सच्चिदानंद घन वासुदेव को भजता है, वह योगी सब प्रकार से बरतता हुआ भी मुझ में ही बरतता है. So these two verses give the same meaning as the verse number 7 of Ishavasya Upanishad. And similarly, the chapter 3, the first few verses convey the same meaning as these three verses, 8, 9, and 10 of Ishavasya Upanishad convey. And in this, the verse number 9 is very clear that both Avidya, because we cannot start with knowledge in the very beginning. Like a child, we have to learn slowly. The child learns to crawl, and then he learns to stand up, and then he learns to walk, and then he learns to speak a few alphabets, Ka Kabutar Ka, Ga Gai Ka, and then all that Ga Gai Ka and Ka Kabutar Ka, then he starts making words and then sentences. Similarly, we have to remove that ignorance through Vidya. So Avidya, we must understand that Avidya is full of darkness, full of lack of knowledge about the Supreme. and we are only dealing with the worldly things. That is avidya. Those people who are all the time engaged only in the world, accumulation of wealth, or working for acquiring positions or prestige, or taking revenge and these kind of things. That is darkness. So you are all the time engaged in that darkness. That is avidya. We have to get out of that avidya through knowledge. That knowledge comes through Upanishad, through Gita, through other shastras. That is how we, and also through the elders who have experience, also through the rishis and munis who have left their writings behind. So we acquire that knowledge, and then we internalize that knowledge. Once we internalize that knowledge and transform our own conduct, then you are able to overcome all the darkness and you become one with the Supreme. So I thought I will mention this similarity which has come about between the two, writings, the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishad. So in this Upanishad now, these verse number 8, 9, and 10, these are very profound. Verse number 8 actually tells us why Vidya leads to problems and greater problems. And that is because you will find all these intellectual guys in the world. They are the source of great problems because they believe they are the one who are transforming the world and they have the capability to transform the world. You see debate in the parliament, the very what you call arrogant people come and speak and they say, I have profound knowledge of the subject, and they consider themselves authority on the subject, and they are not ready to listen to the others. And that is where the problem arises, because then they are completely deluded, they are full of arrogance, and they are full of the full immunity against suggestions by others. And that is why they go in deeper darkness than those people who don't know the subject, and they can learn it, they can accept suggestions, and they can actually acquire knowledge from the very beginning. So a person who doesn't know anything is better than the person who knows and has become arrogant. That is what this verse number 9 tells us, and I think this is very, very important for us to understand. And then verse number 11 tells us that we have to pass through this process. We cannot start with knowledge in the very beginning. You have to have lack of knowledge. You have to experience the world. You experience the world, you live in that darkness, and then once you have lived in that darkness, you realize that this is all futile. We are repeating all the time same thing again and again, year after year, life after life. So there's no need to repeat that. And once we acquire that knowledge, then we internalize that knowledge and change our behavior, our thinking, and we become one with the Supreme. So this is the crux of these, three verses, which are very, very important. And as mentioned, these three verses are debated most out of all the Upanishads by all the writers, and they have, they continue to remain the subject of debate. But my understanding of this is that Ge and Vid are two different roots in Sanskrit. Ge is internalized knowledge, Gyan, and Vid is only the knowledge. And therefore, this word has been used here, Avidya and Vidya. So thank you very much uh, for your attention. And if you have any query on this, we will try to discuss them.